Welcome everyone to the Crypto Vakil show. Today we have with us Mr. Anirudh Rastogi, founder and managing partner of Ikigai Law. Anirudh is a technology lawyer and he is also an author of a book on cyber law. He has been very actively involved in advising various clients on the cryptocurrency and blockchain space. He was also part of the legal team that successfully won the 2020 Supreme Court case on quashing the RBI circular that banned payments for cryptocurrency exchanges. So he's been an active lawyer in the cryptocurrency space, and in this session we hope to discuss and declutter about the upcoming cryptocurrency bill that is being talked about that may be introduced in Parliament, and some other issues surrounding the space which have seen intense discussion over the past few weeks. So welcome Anirudh to the Crypto Vakil show.
Thank you, Jay. Happy to be here.
So, if you can begin by, kind of giving us an update or telling us what's going on the proposed cryptocurrency bill. There has been an anti-climax of sorts, right? Where two times there was just two lines in the list of business in the Lok Sabha that such a bill is going to be introduced, banning private cryptocurrencies, and we don't know what private and public cryptocurrencies are. And then there was chaos all around for a few weeks, clarifications, statements by the finance minister, even prime minister for that matter, and so on, but no clarity on the contents of the bill. All we have is the Subhash Garg draft bill that was, I think, released way back, but the finance minister has clarified that that is not the version they are actually looking at currently. So can you, through your information and from what you have been gathering, what is the status of this crypto bill and any idea what the contents will be?
So, Jay, I'm not entirely surprised that it is taking whatever time it is taking to get the bill through, and from having worked in multiple such sunrise sectors, nascent technologies, which are not fully understood by stakeholders, by the government, and they're complex issues. Typically, you do see that these kind of policy narratives evolve over a period of time, and I've seen this in cryptos, of course, but I've seen this in the making of the drones policy or whatever's going on in the Indian space ecosystem. We are all anticipating multiple policies for the longest time. Right, and every parliamentary session, or you wait for some movement where there is a lot of build up that it seems that it's almost imminent now that the policy will come through, but it does not, and it is just the nature of the game. I think it does take that kind of time to wrap your head around this. There are multiple stakeholders with multiple competing interests which need to be balanced out, multiple concerns which need to be addressed, and so we saw this happen with cryptos in the March parliamentary session.
In the budget session.
Happen again in the monsoon session, and now the winter session we still don't have it. Now the latest news reports say that we may not see a draft being put out for deliberation even in the next the
budget session
in the coming year,
which is expected just in 3 or 4 weeks from now, the budget session.
Sure.
The 31st, normally the session starts before.
Right. And that is clearly because there are multiple competing priorities, and least of which the COVID situation, the worsening COVID situation, is going to add to that. So I don't think that the cryptocurrency bill is going to be on the top of list of the government for now. And so what we are expecting is that after the budget session, maybe this bill is put out for deliberation, public consultation, etc., and that's how it will progress. But of course, sometimes certain incidents can shake up things, right? I mean, you have one large scam, for example, and suddenly, all of a sudden, it shakes up the system, and people want to legislate immediately. It becomes a hot political issue. That's a different matter. But the way things are, I don't expect to see something very soon.
And contents, or that is still work in progress. There is
No, so see, what happens is, while there is a lot of, it seems likely that the approach that the government is going to take is sort of set out now, which is, the government is looking at this from an investor protection lens first. That means that, you treat these as an investment asset, you get the securities regulator to come regulate, etc. But I would not write off the possibility of a change in this approach and even a 360-degree, kind of turn on this one, because, well, there is now time, right? It's not that we are going to push out something in the budget session, and give it time, meaning that, you will have multiple stakeholders weigh in. Even today, OPEX are being written. Some people are still asking for a complete ban, etc. So who
So
knows
by
what kind of
360
fraud?
degree change, you mean there could still be a possibility of a complete ban kind of
Well, I
approach?
would say that it is not entirely off the table,
Because
right?
RBI has been still,
The
kind of
RBI,
pursuing.
the RBI very much, and the RBI is not the only stakeholder, so which has been making these kind of statements.
Right. So, assuming the worst, that, there is a legislation that, kind of bans virtually all cryptocurrencies except the central bank cryptocurrency, which we are not really concerned right now at this stage in this conversation. Assuming that is the case, but, two questions over there. One, you were part of the legal team on the IMAI, the celebrated IMAI case, which actually struck down, you know, RBI circular doing precisely this, and it elevated, trading in cryptocurrencies to a 191G right, the fundamental right of a citizen. So, on the back of this Supreme Court judgment, a three-judge bench decision, can the Parliament even think about a legislation to bring in an absolute ban? And number two, if they do so, given this precedent, do you think there are strong grounds to actually challenge such a law?
So one, the government can very well bring in a new law seeking to ban, despite the IMI judgment, because the IMI judgment, one was concerned specifically with the RBI circular. And the RBI circular was set aside on the limited ground that the circular is disproportionate with respect to the concerns that you have, right? So essentially, the government at that point, the RBI at that point, had not put out any evidence of harm being caused by cryptocurrencies. There was no law which actually dealt with the legality or illegality, which actually stated that cryptos are illegal or not. And in the background of that, the Supreme Court said, well, a ban looks disproportionate, right? Now, if so, one, the government is very well, bring out that evidence of harm, as the Supreme Court called it. It can, it could definitely, I mean, come up with some kind of law to ban. That is possible, but it's also open to challenge, but a fresh challenge this time, right? So the grounds in the IMI judgment are not so much, or the ratio or the decision of the IMI judgment is not so much relevant, with the exception that it is a 191G right. Now, you will have to, this time, if you're challenging a ban, supposingly one comes through, you are going to challenge it, and the ground and the threshold for the challenge is going to be higher as well, because now you have a
Legislation,
law,
there is a presumption of
a law.
constitutional. Yeah.
And I'm assuming that the government, if it goes through that way, then it will do it smartly, and keeping into account, taking into account the considerations of the IMA judgment as well. So, but having said that, it's a 191G right, and it is still open for the industry to say that, well, the ban remains disproportionate to the concerns, because if you look at it, a lot of the concerns that the RBI has presented over the years, or the concerns that different stakeholders speak about, are manageable, right? They can be addressed through reasonable regulation, right?
Lesser intrusive or lesser harmful,
Sure.
lesser invasive steps as the judgments go of the Supreme
Right.
Court. You know
So
that
whether it
ban
is
has to be an extreme measure, because under 19(6) of the Constitution there can be restriction on the right to trade, but ban or absolute prohibition should be the last sort of resort, is what some of the previous judgments have said on other issues, not on crypto.
Absolutely.
So you are saying that if there is a law which completely prohibits, there would still be good basis or good ground to mount another challenge to such a law.
Yes, what I'm saying is there is ground to challenge, but the IMAI judgment is going to be of limited utility there, with the exception that the court has ultimately addressed that this is a 19(1)(g) right. And the second thing is that the court has, I mean, given that there is now precedent for cryptocurrencies to have been, I mean, the fact that we have a decision, right, as opposed to if we were going to mount a fresh challenge in the absence of an IMI judgment, you would still run the risk of being thrown out at the outset, right? What if a court just says like, well, I mean, it's a technical matter. The court could have even back then just chosen not to hear, right? Chosen not to be reluctant, given that there was an RBI, a monetary policy direction, which the court could have just kind of kept off. But since there is this precedent now, I think we definitely have a good ground to be heard in the court. And the fact that a lot of these concerns have been addressed, I think the judgment will be relied on heavily. But it's still, but the challenge will have to go beyond the contours of the IMI judgment.
Another issue that was of concern to many in the government and even outside, and probably triggered this statement by the government that they are very soon coming up with a law, was the aggressive, kind of advertising by the crypto exchanges on, all the World Cup and all TV channels and so on. And there is no mandate for any disclaimer or investor protection or what kind of things can be really said in a commercial advertisement. And there are some crypto exchanges which are following some format of a disclaimer, but most people feel that is inadequate, in the current situation. So do you think that is a matter of concern, the kind of messaging and advertising that some of the crypto exchanges are actually bringing out, that will kind of give you more returns than FD, or double your money and so on?
So definitely there needs to be some kind of oversight on what advertising is permitted or not, right? And yes, it is concerning. I mean, if you are essentially, cryptocurrencies are ultimately a risky investment proposition, and that messaging needs to go through to the ordinary retail investor, right? A good approach would probably be to regulate cryptocurrencies, the cryptocurrency industry, in the same manner as the rest of the financial industry is governed, right? And to a large part, there is the ASCII, which is a self-regulatory body, plays that role. All I want to say is, I agree with you, but there is no reason for the crypto industry to be singled out and be regulated differently from other similarly placed industries. I mean, that's really.
And there were discussions within ASCII to bring out a separate set of guidelines to govern the crypto industry. Has there been any progress on that front?
So, I mean, I think the deliberations are going on, and ASCII has also been deliberating with the government. I believe that certain crypto industry players are actually now members of the ASCII and have been, engaging with the body fairly closely. But I don't know if there's any kind of recent movement as such, or progress on that front.
But there have been no final guidelines by ASCII.
There are no final guidelines so far.
Right. But I think the finance minister also said in parliament that that is also something that is work in progress, and the ministry is also working with ASCII to bring certain guidelines. But I think as of date, from what you are saying, we don't have any such concrete guideline. And
right.
And the exchanges are relying on a self-regulatory code to kind of govern the advertising. Is that correct?
That's right. And I think after a lot of the exchanges and many platforms, like your social media networks, etc., also preemptively and voluntarily kind of enforce stricter, or starting to be a lot more cognizant about the way they were advertising, or what kind of advertisements could be run on platforms, etc. After the IPL, when when this issue started to come up, I think a lot of the industry players self-corrected on that front. And that's a good sign, right? I mean, that's just a sign of a mature industry that's willing to kind of, that one understands, what's going on, is not blind to the larger concerns, and is acting on them.
Another issue that is a hot topic of discussion is NFTs, and how they should be treated. So, is there any indication from your discussions with stakeholders and government on whether NFTs are also going to be part of this broader framework that the government is going to bring about, or is it going to be looked differently? And what is your view as well on that?
So, up until now, Jay, the focus, or the regulatory and policy narrative was largely centered around your centralized crypto exchanges, right? And looking at them from an investor protection lens. Now, as a result of which, a lot of other crypto businesses, crypto stakeholders, whether it's NFTs, DeFi, you have these other utility tokens and token offerings, etc. A lot of these other considerations have not really found their way into the discussions that are being had, right? Which is unfortunate, because there's a lot more to the crypto industry than just the exchanges and investment activity. Now, hence, up until now, NFTs also have not really did not really kind of draw the attention of the regulator, which is concerning, because if you bring about a law which seeks to govern all cryptocurrencies in the same manner, and include NFTs in the same kind of broad brush, that will be counterproductive, right? And I say that because NFTs, to my mind, one, are fundamentally different. They, of course, there's an underlying technology which is very much the same, but conceptually, fungible tokens, which most cryptocurrencies today are, and NFTs, which are non-fungible, serve a very different use case because of that fundamental attribute. And NFTs also present very different concerns, or do not present the same concerns that cryptocurrencies do to the regulator, right? So, for example, NFTs, because they're non-fungible, one, they're not typically used or can be used as a currency, right? They are unique assets, right? Which means that takes away the primary concern of the RBI and of the government in general, which is the use of cryptocurrencies in the payment ecosystem. NFTs can't really be used for that purpose, which also means that they can't really be used for money laundering or tax evasion, etc., in the same way as cryptocurrencies. I wouldn't say that that's not a possibility. I think NFTs also present those concerns, but in a different way, right? And for that reason, I would say that, because the concerns are different, the regulatory approach to both should also be different. Right. Unfortunately, today it doesn't seem that the law is is cognizant, or the lawmakers are cognizant of the distinction, and that distinction is being baked into the regulation. It needs to be. There needs to be an exception for NFTs and other use cases.
Final question: blockchain technology, as we all know, has so many use cases. What are the kind of use cases of blockchain technology you see in the legal space and in the judiciary going forward?
So, Jay, blockchain, and I'm now not talking about cryptocurrencies generally. Yeah. The blockchain technology is essentially nothing but a digital ledger, right? It's a more effective database management system. And why it is so is because it brings in the features of immutability. You can't corrupt the database, etc., right? And just the decentralization of it, the fact that there's no single point of failure, etc. Now, that means that this technology disrupts any note-keeping application, any application which requires a database or a record of information. And that's practically everything, right? So the law is not going to be, or the judicial system, is also going to benefit from it. So whether it is, any kind of record-keeping function within the court system, for instance, right? That could basically be done better using blockchain, for instance, right? So I think those use cases will evolve. Off the cuff, I don't think the judiciary or the legal system is going to be the first benefactor of a lot of these things. But look at some of the, so smart contracts. I don't want to kind of touch upon in great detail because but that's also one aspect of how your legal system is going to start, and lawyers are going to start, kind of approaching this somewhat differently, right? So I think the smart contracts is going to be one other area where you'll see immense benefit. But generally speaking, I think we will still, you're going to first see disruption in the financial sector and whatnot before we get to some massive applications and life-changing applications in the legal sector.
Right. Thank you, Anirudh, for your time and for an insightful discussion. We'll keep tracking and seeing how the situation evolves with regard to the crypto bill in Parliament over the next few months. If you enjoyed this conversation, do press the bell icon and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and do also subscribe to our social media pages given in the link description below. We'll be back with more engaging videos soon. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Jay.